Let's make a fun project using the Artspira app. Welcome friends to another episode of Sewing Saturday. It's Julius here with you, and today we can get to make something out of the Artspira app. We've shown you in the previous video how to get the app connected to the Brother NV2700 sewing machine, as well as how to transfer pre-existing designs from the app. It's an easy way to get designs for your embroidery projects, as well as templates for crafting and cutting using your scan and cut machines. So without further ado, let's jump right in. I already have the materials laid out on my sewing table. Today, we're making a customized pot holder. This is a beginner-friendly project which includes all three methods of sewing, quilting, and embroidery. So this is going to be so much fun and easy at the same time. Also, a good starting point to practice all three sewing methods. First on the list of materials, we will need a fabric, of course. If you're making this at home, you can choose a plain fabric or a printed one like this. And since pot holders are two-sided, you can make one side printed and one side plain. Remember, we will be embroidering on this as well, so a not so busy fabric is ideal. We will need a fusible batting. I like my pot holders to be a little bit thicker, so we will use 2 layers of batting for this project. This is a lot of batting, but we're going to be using less of this. A fusible stabilizer for embroidering. Bias tapes. You can get pre-made bias tapes like this, or you can make your own. It's very easy. Embroidery threads and all-purpose sewing thread for general sewing. Your usual sewing tools and notions, some sewing clips, a fabric marker or chalk, a ruler, a French curve. This tool is used in making round edges. If you don't have one, you can get something round like a jar cover or a coin will work as well. As long as it's round, it's okay. A pressing mat and an iron. I have my pressing mat right here and an iron right here. And lastly, grab a walking foot, as this is very helpful in quilting. The sewing machine I will be working with is the Brother NV2700, which I already have here. So to start off, we will first embroider on our fabric. I will clear my table and get on in setting up my embroidery machine for embroidery. And once we're set up, we will start transferring the design from the Artspira app to the sewing machine. So whenever you're transferring designs, you can always personalize it with your initials or your first name perhaps, just so you can have that personalized vibe and you feel confident that you made it yourself. Once you've chosen your design, just simply transfer it and it will be available on the sewing machine right away. Let your machine do the embroidering, and in the meantime, I will prep my batting and my fabric for quilting. So basically, I will just cut a 15 by 15 inches square, one from the batting and from the fabric. The other batting layer, I will be cutting a 10 by 10 inch square because what I'm aiming for is a 10 by 10 inch pot holder. Thick and wide enough to basically withstand heat and be able to carry large pots. So this is a big pot holder, pretty much. So the embroidering is finished. We can now move on to the next step. So what I will do in the next step is to remove the embroidered fabric from the embroidery carriage and the frame, and basically decide where to position my embroidery design from the fabric. I think I will put it in the center and cut out a 10 by 10 inch square from here. So this piece of embroidered fabric will be ironed onto the fusible batting fabric. And once this is done, I will set up my machine for sewing, as the next thing I will be doing is to quilt the batting and the fabric. We will be using the walking foot for this step for easier sewing. I will place my fabric under the machine and under the foot, and just select a normal straight stitch. And I will keep doing this until everything is stitched. As you can see, the walking foot really helps in pulling the fabric into the sewing machine. This is an essential notion for when you are sewing thick fabrics or layers of fabric. It helps move fabrics evenly so they don't stretch out of shape. Once done, I can now cut this into a 10 by 10 inch square. Once this is done, we will move on to putting the pieces together. So we will place both pieces wrong side to wrong side. And using clips, we will secure all the edges in place and sew 1/4 of an inch all around. This is to secure both pieces together. Then, using a French curve ruler or anything round, we will create round corners by marking the corners and cutting them up. So that will be using my French curve right here. Then, once again, we will secure the edges by sewing 1/4 of an inch away from all the edges. If you're making this at home, you should end up with this. The last step to do is to sew bias tapes all around to secure the raw edges. I will be using a pre-made bias tape like this. It's very convenient. But again, if you prefer making your own, you may do so. And as easy and simple as that, we now have created a kitchen essential, a personalized pot holder. We hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and we would love to see you with your very own Artspira inspired projects. Until then, happy sewing, and I will see you on the next one. So perfect.